Intuition. What is intuition? Well, Webster defines intuition as the power or faculty of attaining to direct knowledge or cognition without evident rational thought. And Charles Fillmore actually agrees with this and then adds to this definition in his book, The Revealing Word, which, by the way, is a really... I meant to bring it this morning and show you, but I forgot. But The Revealing Word is really a great resource guide for metaphysical terms or metaphysical definitions of everyday terms. So he agrees with this definition, and then he adds that intuition is the natural knowing capacity, inner knowing, the wisdom of the heart. And then he goes on to say, when one trusts spirit and looks to it for understanding, a certain confidence in the invisible good develops. This faith awakens the so-called sixth sense, intuition, or divine knowing, which I think is a very full, rich explanation of that. So we're going to be exploring intuition today, how to develop that sixth sense, how to open to that heart, that wisdom in our heart, what gets in the way of us doing that. And I'm going to ask you to help me by perhaps sharing an incident in your life where you followed your intuition, your intuitive guidance, and it led to making some really wonderful, positive changes in your life, or just had some amazing impact. And you can also share, what you do to listen, what you've done to develop that voice of intuition, that connection with that voice in just a minute. But let's first talk about why we want to develop intuition. Why is that important? Well, the first thing we can explore is on a practical level. And on a practical level, intuition allows us to make quicker, more inspired decisions. Decisions that are in our highest and best interest. And also following divine guidance helps us avoid wasting a lot of time pursuing things that really don't pan out, that aren't in our best interest, going after a wild goose chase. And I'm telling you, if you're busy and you have a full life, that's a real bonus. Following our intuition helps reveal natural talents, abilities, skills, some of which we don't know that we have. It increases our confidence and our personal power, a more fuller sense of our personal power. Intuition sometimes can save our life or the life of someone else. And some of you may have a story to share about that. Now, on a deeper level, intuition can be a powerful tool in developing a relationship, a strong relationship with our inner divine self. And it can help us to reveal, to know more fully our true purpose, all of the parts of that true purpose. So Penny Pierce says in her book, The Intuitive Way, which is kind of like the artist's way, but for developing intuition. She says, when intuition is in full bloom, life takes on a magical, effortless quality. Your world is suddenly full of synchronicities, creative insights, and abundant knowledge. And I would add to that full experience of intuition aligns us with our authentic self. Kind of allows that authentic self to lead the way. So now let's talk about ways, some of the things that get in our way of hearing that voice of intuition or of following it. Because it does no good if we hear the voice of intuition and we don't follow it. How many of you have ignored your intuition at one time or another and really regretted it? I know, I think everybody has at one point. So the thing that silences our intuition the most is our need for certainty. We like sure things. We like guarantees. We like assurances. We like answers that make sense to our rational, logical mind. And this need for certainty, this need to always have an answer there that makes sense, kind of just cuts off that deeper wisdom of our heart. And a clue that you're not trusting your intuition might be if you find yourself asking others, what do you think? What should I do? What would you do? Right? That's kind of a clue. So, and if we continue to do that, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that every now and then. But if you're continuing to do that, you're always asking other people, then you're actually training yourself not to listen to your intuition. You're training yourself. We don't want to be that person who, when asked, what does your gut say? We say, I don't know. We haven't spoken in years. I don't know. Now, there's nothing wrong with rational thought, I have to say. Nothing wrong with that. It's just that it's not the only thing, right? Sometimes we need a rational exploration of all the facts. We need to gather all of the information. That's good. And, as my husband's always saying, rational thinking is actually the thing that's missing so much in our country at this moment. And I tend to agree. But intuition is not the opposite of rational thought. The opposite of rational thought is fear-based thinking. And that does not come from your heart. That doesn't come from your gut. It comes from that reptilian brain. Fear-based thinking, right? And actually, intuition and rational thought can work together. These two things can work together. And if you'll notice in some of these stories, some of these things, they work together to help us really make some inspired decisions in our lives. But we don't want to constantly, rely 100% on facts, because facts can be, it's kind of the world of effect. A fact for the majority of people doesn't necessarily have to be a fact for us. For instance, 50% of marriages end in divorce. Now, that doesn't stop a lot of us from doing it, right? And if you're combining both the rational thought, of gathering all the information, doing your due diligence, doing that part, and you're following your gut, you're listening to your intuitive wisdom, you're more likely to make a good decision and do the things that really create a marriage that endures. The fact is that most new businesses fail. That's the fact. But that should not stop someone who is passionate about something, passionate about creating a business around an idea, should not stop them from doing that. And again, putting these two things together, the rational thought, we're doing the due diligence, we're checking it all out, and we're following that inner guidance, that inner wisdom. We're connected with that wisdom, which is guiding us to whatever it is that we need to do to ensure that that business is a success. So using those two things together really can work together. And intuition, it just can give us such a huge advantage in any endeavor that we undertake. It really can give us such a huge advantage. All right, so let's now talk about ways, and some of you have mentioned these or sort of were intimating these ideas about ways that we can develop that connection with our intuitive guidance. Intuition frequently speaks to us in images and symbols. So pay attention to your dreams. Pay Pay attention to the images in your dreams, the images that come up in your meditation, the images that are, just stand out in your everyday life. And turn within and just kind of allow an understanding of what that image, that symbol signifies for you. Allow that awareness to bubble up in your consciousness. Another way to help develop that connection with our intuitive self is through direct writing. And that's writing that's done by first going within, connecting with spirit in meditation or whatever way that you do that. Connect with that spirit within and allow those words to flow from spirit through your hand and onto the paper. This is where you do need to suspend rational thought. You need to suspend judgment. You need to suspend your need to edit. It's more of a pure flow of words and onto the paper. Sometimes that exercise can help clarify something that is, kind of up and present for you. It just really can help to clarify that. Another thing to pay attention to is repeated patterns. When repeated patterns come up in our life, whether they're images or they could be phrases, it could be, for example, say you haven't heard a phrase in a really long time, and then suddenly you're hearing it all the time. For example, like a once in a blue moon, a phrase, once in the blue moon. You haven't heard that in a long time, and then somebody says it, and then like the next day you see an image of a blue moon, and then the very next day somebody else says it. That's the universe kind of trying to get your attention. So take that in, and what does that mean? What does that image of a blue moon mean? Is there an event, a rare event about to occur that would be good to focus your attention on, to be present to? It could be something like, you haven't seen deer in a really long time, and suddenly you're seeing them everywhere. Now that could be because it's deer mating season. But it also could be that, there's something in that image of a deer. What does that represent to you? Is it the grace and the agility that deer have that is a good model to keep in mind as you engage in activity? Is it maybe, deer represent kind of they always have a close-knit family structure? So is the universe giving you that message that this would be a really good time to focus on and appreciate family connection? Or is it maybe the trusting nature of deer? They just stand there with these big eyes and this look. They're like so trusting. Is it the trusting nature of deer that is a good thing for you to embody at this particular time in your life? My husband and I were away on vacation. We just got back in last night. We were away for a week. We went to Kiowa Island, which is just a beautiful, beautiful place. And we had this little condo with a little screened-in porch in the front that was on a little stream. So we saw a little stream in front of us, and I would go out there in the morning and before my meditation, have coffee and just kind of be there. And one day I went out there, and there were 5 or 6 egrets, all right here in the, I've never seen that many egrets in my entire life in one place ever. And I never saw it again either. It was like, wow. And they were flying, and they were relating, and they were just being there. And I thought, wow, that is I've always loved egrets. But there was something really meaningful about this collection of them. So I took it in meditation, and it wasn't just, the beauty and the grace that egrets have. But there was something in there for me about the stillness and the patience that they have. They're not aggressive hunters. They just sit there still and centered and patient and just kind of wait for the right fish to come along. And then they pluck it out of the abundance that's all around them. And I felt like the universe was saying, this is a good role model for you. This is a good thing. There's power in being still. You don't have to aggressively always go after things, go after results. There's a power in being still and silent and just kind of waiting for the right opportunity to come by and bloop, pluck it out of all of the abundance of possibility that's there for me. So it was a really strong message for us, for me. The universe is always trying to get our attention. It's always has messages for us. And when we pay attention, we notice. And when we're on a spiritual path, we can open to the interpretation of that. We can open to perceiving the deeper meaning of that. All of us on a spiritual path here. We just really take it in. But we need to practice. We need to practice listening. We need to practice being receptive. We need to practice not knowing. We need to be comfortable with uncertainty. We need to be comfortable with the mystery, not always having the answer. And practice hearing, practice going to a deeper source, that source within us. Practice having faith that the universe is for us. And there's a divine presence in us that loves us so much, much more than we could ever possibly know. And that everything is working together for our good, and we're guided. Every moment of every day, we're guided in the right time and if we pay attention, we know. We're getting the signs, we're getting the messages, we're being guided into expressing more of ourselves, more of our, as Chris was saying with the Olympics, more of our best self. The universe is constantly, nudging us in that direction to grow, to express more of our best self. And when we connect with that inspiration, that divine source within us, and develop an ear for it. Wow, that's living a magical, beautiful life. So one of the things that we can do is to practice this is an affirmation, and I've written one for you. It's in your program. If you want to take out that hand, and then there's some also in that program are the ideas about developing your intuition. So I'm going to read this through once, and then maybe I'd like for us to read it together. There is a divine source within me that loves me and that guides every facet of my life. I open to it. I listen to it. I hear the messages the universe is sending me, and I follow the guidance of my inner wisdom that intends only the highest good for me. And so it is. So let's say that together. Everybody have that? Okay. Ready? There is a divine source within me that loves me and that guides every facet of my life. I open to it. I listen to it. I hear the messages that the universe is sending me, and I follow the guidance of my inner wisdom that intends only the highest good for me. And so it is. All right. Take that. Say it to yourself, and when you're waking up in the morning, before you go to sleep, a few times in the day, and you will begin to open to that. Namaste. Namaste.